So the staking or traditional staking, it has a bunch of limitations, being that you need to lock your token away. Like you can't lock your ETH and then use it at the same time. You have to wait. You have to wait for what we call an exit queue, which is essentially a way to prevent a capital run on the network. So rather than having to abide by this, or that's one of the main core issues. Another issue is that, again, with traditional staking, you need to lock up 32 ETH. That was the main requirement when the merge of Ethereum happened. And then the third thing is that you need to maintain a little bit of a personal infrastructure. You can't, of course, you can just keep the software running, but it requires that you have a little bit of oversight. So all of that was cool, but it wasn't the way forward to allow more people to democratize accessibility to staking. That's why liquid staking emerged. So liquid staking, I mean, there's even another point on that. So the merge happened at the end of 2020. This essentially meant that users were able to lock their ETH, but they were not able to withdraw it. And they were not able to withdraw it actually for the next 2.5 years, even though at the time it was not known when will the next upgrade that will allow people to withdraw their ETH was going to happen. Of course, that wasn't very capital efficient and it wasn't very encouraging for people who wanted to have access to their capital. So with liquid staking, it was a novel solution that allows users to lock their ETH in a smart contract and then receive back this IOU, or a receipt token. A very simple way to think about this is when you go to your ATM, when you withdraw some of your money, you see your digital balance on the screen. This is not actually your money. This is just a digital number that you see on the screen that reflects the claim that you have, that essentially the bank is holding the money as it is supposed to. That's what liquid staking tokens are. You essentially have a receipt token that represents the principal amount that you deposited or that you invested, plus the staking yield that you accrue on a daily basis. So with liquid staking, people were able to participate in the staking yield. They were able to earn that amount on a daily basis, but at the same time, they were able to use that receipt token across DeFi. So they were able to use the receipt token as a collateral in money market protocols in order to borrow some money against that amount effectively. And most importantly, liquid staking reduced the barrier to investment because it essentially meant that anyone can invest any kind of an amount that they can deposit into the smart contract, and then they will just earn the proportionate yield amount. So that made it so much easier. And finally, the infrastructure, because you were delegating your ETH to another validator under Lido, for instance. Lido is one of the pioneering protocols. This essentially meant that you, as a user, this became a one-click application. You just deposit your ETH and you forget about it. If you don't want to participate in DeFi, so be it. It really simplified access to staking. But there is more. There's more than liquid staking. Liquid staking addressed the limitations of traditional staking, but then we had another new innovative protocol that came out about last year. Yeah, just the last thing that I forgot to mention in the last slide, perhaps, was liquid staking makes up about 45% of all staked ETH, which shows the sheer impact that liquid staking tokens have on the market. That's just a really cool thing to observe and to appreciate. So the second wave of innovation on staking was restaking. So with liquid staking, we addressed the limitations. With restaking, we took Ethereum staking to the next level. So what do I mean by that? Ethereum is a proof of stake network. However, it's not the only proof of stake network. In fact, about more than 95% of the entire crypto economy is made up of proof of stake networks. For each and every one that's about to launch from the ground up, they need to pool a lot of resources in terms of capital, in terms of validators, which are the backbone of any proof of stake network. That's quite a lot to expect from a network that is just coming to life. So with restaking, it allowed this new cool and unique mechanism where, because of the fact that Ethereum has more than $100 billion worth of ETH backing its security, it effectively becomes the second most secured settlement layer after Bitcoin. So in that regard, if you are able to borrow from the security guarantees of Ethereum in order to secure other networks, then in that regard, you create a very interconnected blockchain ecosystem. And that's effectively what restaking symbolized and the protocol called Eigen layer does. We have an entire analyst call. Actually, we're half of an analyst call dedicated to this. So we will send it out in the follow up to this session. But if I were to just sum it down to two things, it's a very lucrative and it's a very innovative protocol. It has its benefits. Its benefits are with Ethereum staking or vanilla staking, you have somewhere from 3 to 4% in APY. Whereas with restaking, you're able to take this a couple more percentage upwards. So the fact is you're securing the network, you're securing Ethereum, but in addition to that, you're securing another network, which means that you're able to add both sources of yield. So that's what makes it quite interesting. In that regard, it also reinforces a positive feedback loop in Ethereum security because if it is allowing users to contribute to Ethereum security because they're earning quite a lucrative percentage in yield, then it essentially means that the security of Ethereum is becoming stronger and it's stronger day in and day out. And then finally, you're able to create a more resilient ecosystem because at the end of the day, if you have a network that is just emerged and it's reliant on Ethereum security, then it becomes a lot harder in terms of targeting the network or attacking the network because of the fact that you need to have more than $50 billion worth of ETH or $50 billion worth of security in order to perpetrate what's known as a 51% security attack. Its risks on the other side because of what I just said, you could potentially at some point in the future have so many networks reliant on Ethereum security. So this creates a dilemma of a single point of failure. Another point is the fact that you, as a user, you are not only just exposed to the slashing risks of Ethereum, but you're exposed also to the slashing risks of the other protocols reliant on. So that creates amplifies the exposure in terms of risk. And then finally, let's keep it to those two because the third one, it might get a little bit too technical. So I would again recommend people to watch the other YouTube or the other analyst poll session that we've had